Hey guys, it's Robin and I'm back again with another video. So I'm here to tell you guys about my very first homicide. If you're interested, stay tuned. Hey y'all, it's Robin from the future. So I just wanted to stop 1 second and tell you guys, I am editing my video right now and I'm doing the same thing I always do. I do speed up my videos. I do. So don't get confused because I'm talking fast. It's sped up. So what you can do is you can click on the settings button or the little wheel. It looks like a little bolt or whatever. And click on that, go to speed, adjust the speed to 0.75. If you adjust the speed to 0.75, then it sounds like I'm talking normal. That's my normal pace, but I kind of talk slow and also I'm just waking up, so I sped the video up. Okay, go ahead, continue watching the video. Just wanted to let you guys know that. Okay guys, so my first homicide, obviously I've never told you guys where I work, like for which the police department I work for. I'm still not gonna put that out there, but yeah, my first homicide was in 2014. I was 22 years old and I was like so excited to go there. I know like a homicide is bad, but me, because I waited so long to become a crime scene investigator and that was like my dream job. Like I just was waiting so long to have my first chance at doing like a real like tough crime scene. So I had already been a crime scene investigator. I was actually a crime scene technician. For the police department that I work for. So at the time I was a crime scene technician, which means that I would typically go on the smaller crime scenes such as burglaries and like burglaries of residences, burglaries of motor vehicles. I would go to criminal mischiefs, things like that. So I would go to property crimes. I wouldn't go to like crimes against persons. So as a crime scene technician, you had the opportunity to go out and help crime scene analysts. Crime scene analysts were the crime scene investigators, basically like the second level crime scene investigators that would go out to the crimes against persons like assaults, homicides, suicides, sexual assaults, robberies, things like that. So when this was still my first year as a crime scene technician, and I was finally off of my field training. I think it might have been a few months after I had finished my training as a crime scene technician. So crime scene technicians were allowed to assist crime scene analysts to help them, especially if you wanted to promote to become a crime scene analyst, then they would allow us to go there to assist them on their scenes. And basically when we would assist them, we would help them do things that we were allowed to do as a crime scene technician, such as we could go to the scene and we could fingerprint, we could collect evidence after it's been photographed and things like that. But we weren't actually the ones taking the pictures at the scenes. If we were a crime scene technician, you wouldn't be taking pictures at a crime scene analyst call. The analyst would take those pictures themselves. So yeah, and you could assist with measurements and stuff like that. At that scene, I didn't assist with any measurements, but I did help collect evidence and I did do the fingerprinting. So it was really like different. It was more chaotic. It was the first chaotic scene that I ever went to. And I mean, it would make sense because it was a homicide and all the scenes up until that point that I had been to were all crimes against property. So they weren't that chaotic. Like people may have been, upset that their car was broken into or that their house was broken into, but they weren't hurt. They, it's like property, property can be replaced, but a person's life cannot. Basically when I got to the scene, it was in the hood. So the same area, if you guys watched my last video about the guy, who was killed, the guy that I watched that I felt like the fire department where they could have helped him and it didn't help him and they allow him to die and I feel like they killed him. If you guys watched that video about, why I stopped being a crime scene investigator or why I quit my job as a crime scene investigator part 2, this was in the same area. So the hood, as I called it in the last video, I'm going to refer to it again because it's the same area. It's yeah, same type of area. So I got to the scene. Well, first I asked, my supervisor, could I go assist the analyst on call? They was like, yeah, call the analyst and see if they're okay with you coming out there. I was like, cool. So I called them. I was like, hey, can I help you on your scene? Do you need any help? They was like, yeah, sure, Robin, come out here. Definitely gonna need help. It's a lot going on. Can you do this? Blah, blah, blah. And I was like, yeah, sure, I'll be on my way. Okay, cool. So I'm headed down there. My adrenaline is like rushing. Like I was so excited. I was like, oh my God, like I'm on my way to a homicide. Like I've only been a crime scene investigator for however many months. Like it hadn't even been a year yet. And I was just like, oh, I'm going to my first homicide. Like I was so excited. And then they called me back and they were like, hey, how far out are you? And I told them, I was like, I'm like 5 minutes away. They were like, okay, just to let you know, like it's a lot of people out here. But when you get here, call us so we can tell you exactly where to go. I was like, okay, cool. got there, called them, because it was an apartment complex, and the apartment complex was kind of like confusing. It was like different turns you had to make, but it was more confusing because it seems like the whole apartment complex was outside. The entire apartment complex was outside there at the scene. And so it was kind of like, oh, sugar honey iced tea. Like it was intense. It was really intense. And I had, up until that point, like I said, I had never been to a scene that was that intense, but it was like, okay, I mean, it makes sense because somebody just died. Like I get it, but I did not expect for like 200 people to be outside standing there like watching your every move. Like anybody that's pulling up, like they're looking at you. Anybody, like any officer that's walking up, like they're looking. And then also we're in Texas, like everybody carries guns. You don't know how many people are out there with guns, in addition to, that are not police officers that are just like in the apartment complex. And it was really, really intense. It was really, really crazy. So when I got there, I parked, I got out of my vehicle, and I walked up to it was a crime scene analyst there and a detective. Back then, we used to have, well, they still do have detectives that work in crime scene who are crime scene investigators, but they are actually sworn police officers, because the unit that I was in was half sworn, half civilian, but there were more civilians than sworn police officers. So there was one sworn police officer there who was a crime scene investigator with the analyst, and it was the analyst. She was the lead on the scene. He was there assisting her, and I came to assist them. So I walked up, I spoke to both of them. I was like, hey, so, they was like, hey, Robin, okay, so we're gonna tell you what's going on. So they told me everything that was going on the scene. And it was very chaotic. It was very loud. Like people were screaming. So it's kind of like, that was my first time realizing like, okay, you really have to focus on what people are saying in front of you, because there's so much screaming and chaos going on around you and behind you. It's like, I'm the type of person where I'm easily distracted. Like if I'm hearing something, like if I'm talking to someone and I hear something like over here, like that's weird, I'm gonna like turn and look and be like, what the heck? Like I'm always like aware of my surroundings, but it's like you have to be able to be aware of your surroundings and still pay attention to that person that is telling you, hey, this is what's going on. Like they need your full attention right then and there, because they're telling you the things that's going on, explaining to you what's happened or what they found out so far, and there's just chaos behind you. It's like there could be like, it's not bombs going off, but there could be like just super chaos behind you, and you have to be like, okay, process the information. Okay, this is what they've seen, this is what they show me, this is what we got, this is what we got, this is what we're going to do, this is the first thing we're going to do, then we're going to do this, and we're going to do that. Like you have to know what the game plan is and be able to roll with the punches, and you have to get the information that you need even in the midst of chaos. And that's what I learned that day, and that was my first time really going through that, because doing property crimes, you're not in chaos. You're not in chaotic situations when you're working crimes against property. It's like chill, like people may be upset, but it's not chaotic. You're not going to have a zillion people standing around you watching you fingerprint a vehicle or watching you fingerprint inside of a business. That's not going to happen. There's not media there. That's the other thing. That was my first time being on a scene where there was a media presence. And that made it even like a little more intense, because it's like, okay, you really don't want to do anything wrong. You want to make sure that you're doing your job, that you're not like smiling. And also I was just excited to be there. And I was kind of like, I had to tell myself like, stop smiling, because it could be seen as offensive, even though I didn't want to, be offensive or anything to the family or to the onlookers or whatever. But I was just excited to be there. And then one thing that crime scene investigators and police officers do, and I assume firefighters do it as well, but speaking from my experience, crime scene investigators and police officers, a lot of times when we are at hard scenes or just any scene, like you may see crime scene investigators and officers like making jokes like with each other, not with the person. Or the family that's involved or whatever. But just off to the side, like they may be there like talking, making jokes, or talking about something that has nothing to do with the scene. Like, hey, like after this, we're going to go eat, or hey, what do you guys want to get to eat after this? Like, and it may seem kind of heartless, but it's like, that's honestly, it's a coping mechanism. And it's hard to explain, but it's definitely a coping mechanism that a lot of people use, because you have to be able to detach yourself from the situation. And that's a big way. That's the easiest way to detach from the situation. If you're there with a dead body or a couple dead bodies or whatever, and you're like, okay, so what are we gonna eat after we're done this? Like you're putting your mind somewhere else while you're working, but you're putting your mind somewhere else. Like you're looking forward to something else, or you're joking about something that happened in the office or whatever. Like it's an easy way to, take your mind off of what's happening. That's the best way I can explain it. So anyways, so I heard, I was talking to the analyst and the detective, and they were saying different things, and, and officers were there, they were joking about different things. So then the detective, probably about 20 minutes after I gotten there, the detective, he came up to me. He was like, and not the detective that worked in crime scene, not the detective on the case, like not the homicide detective, but the crime scene detective. So the crime scene detective, he came up to me. He was like, hey, Robin. He was like, look, he was like, come over here real quick. So I talked to him on the side. He's like, I just want you to be careful because you don't have on. He was like, are you wearing a vest? And I said, no. Like he meant a bulletproof vest. Like, was I wearing a bulletproof vest? And I said, no. I said, I don't have one. And he said, okay. He said, I want you to be careful. He said, just make sure you stay as close, to the scene as possible. Don't go wandering out, like away from us. He said, because he said, there are a lot of guns out here that aren't police. And he said, and there have been threats made while we were there. There were threats being made that people were going to come, that the suspects were going to come back and they were going to start firing at the officers and stuff. And our uniforms pretty much look like police uniforms. Like you can't tell the difference. It still had this, we still wore the same patch on the side that said whatever police department. We had a patch over here that said like crime scene unit. So we honestly, like our uniforms look like officers' uniforms. And on the back, like we wore black vests that said like crime scene. So you wouldn't know. You would not know, like because of how long my vest was, you wouldn't know what I had on my belt. You don't know if I have a gun. You don't know if I have handcuffs or whatever, because you wouldn't be able to see it because my vest came down over my butt. So anyways, he was just like, just be aware because it's getting really crazy and more officers are on their way. I was like, okay. And that's when it got like really intense. Like more officers came. So there were probably about, I'd say about maybe at least 50 officers, maybe 50 officers there. Like it was a lot of officers, and officers came in like riot gear. Like it was intense. Officers came there in riot gear, and they had their they had like the guns that would shoot out the rubber bullets or whatever. Like it was just really intense, and I was like, oh my goodness. So I'm just like, I'm seeing it happen, but then I'm also like, let me go ahead and fingerprint. Like I'm sorry, it's not funny, but like thinking about it now, it's kind of funny because I was really just like, oh my gosh, like this is happening. Let me just like being nosy, like, okay, what's about to happen? But fingerprint, go ahead. Like this is how I'm doing this because this is me twirling the brush, my fingerprint brush. So I'm like, let me go ahead and just go ahead and fingerprint this and move on to the next thing. So yeah, that was me being a little Miss Nosy, seeing what's going on. But I mean, hey, at the end of the day, when you're at a crime scene, you have to be aware of everything that's going on. So it wasn't even really being nosy. I'm just making fun of myself. But you have to be aware of everything that is going on at the scene and still be able to do your job. So that's what I was learning that day. And so, yeah, I was being attentive to what I was doing. And I was also making sure I was aware of everything that was going on, because the second a shot fired, like you have to take cover or whatever. Like you have to be able to keep yourself safe. And like he said, I wasn't wearing a vest. Like I wasn't wearing a bulletproof vest. So it's like, you don't know what is going to happen in that situation, but it was just really, really crazy. So anyways, while I was there, I did see I should have said this earlier, but I did see the person who was killed. He was still at the scene when I got there. He was a gentleman. He was actually the same age as me. That's kind of like what, it didn't affect me, but that's what like hit home to me. Yeah, that's what I say. That's what made it hit home for me, because I was like, oh my gosh, like he's the same exact age as me. And it's just like our lives just took two completely different routes. Not that I knew him. Like it's not like I knew him or I moved to Texas to work all the way from Baltimore, Maryland. So I know it's not like I knew anybody in the city really, but it was just so crazy to me, because it's like we are the exact same age and our lives took a completely different route. Like here I am working his crime scene and we are peers, pretty much. Like we are peers, and I'm here helping out on his crime scene at the time that he got killed. And he was in a gang. It was his death was a result of gang violence. Yeah, his death was a result of gang violence. And coming from where I grew up in Baltimore, there are gangs there. There is a lot of gang violence. There is a lot of shootings and killings there, like every day. Like my whole life, I grew up knowing that, like a lot of people that I knew may not grow up, or not that they may not grow up, but may not make it to see 21. Like it's a blessing to, like where I come from, it's a blessing to make it to see 21. It's a blessing to make it to see 25. And that's another reason why I wanted to move away from Baltimore, because I knew that if I stayed, I was like, if I stay there, like it's just like such a toxic place that if I stay there, I was like, I know that I wouldn't have the life that I do now. Like my life is blessed now. And I love my life, like I have a great life, but it would not be the same if I were still in Baltimore. It just would not. So yeah, it's just crazy how it's like your environment, the environment that you are in, that you either grew up in, or when you get older, if you choose to stay in that environment or whatever, how it can affect you in your life. So yeah, it was just a really crazy situation. I really felt bad for the guy who was killed. But at the same time, not at the same time. So a little later on, his mother, she arrived to the scene. And when she arrived to the scene, that's when it really, like, it was already chaotic, but when his mom got to the scene, it got really crazy because she was trying to run up his family. I don't know if they were sisters or cousins or whoever, like they were trying to come up to the scene. Officers were there, like stopping people, like, no, you can't go up there, you can't go there, you can't go there. But everybody was right there in the street, like, and on the grass, like it was taped off, but there were areas that where there couldn't be any tape. And it was just really crazy. So his mom, she was crying hard. She was screaming like, why my baby, like, no, not my son, and not, things like that. And she started speaking in tongues. And outside of church, that's the first time I ever heard someone speaking in tongues. And it was really like, I was like, oh my God, like, I was like, oh my gosh. I guess because I've never like been in that situation, like, I don't know. It was just like really crazy. I was like, oh my gosh, like school doesn't prepare you for this. Like I went to school for crime scene investigation. You'll see pictures and stuff, but you're not going to see, well, I don't know what they're showing the students in school these days. But when I was in school, we didn't see videos of active crime scenes, like from the crime scene investigator perspective, or even from, you may see things happening from a police perspective, but we don't actually see crime scene investigation videos. Like, we wasn't First 48. I don't even think we didn't even watch like First 48 or anything like that. I mean, even First 48 couldn't capture how intense it was in those moments. And his mom was like speaking in tongues and just calling out for God. And I was just like, it just got really sad. Like, it wasn't fun before, but I was excited to be there. But then I think her crying, like just seeing her, the pain that she was going through, that's when it was like, oh my gosh, like, I know, like, that's when I realized, like, okay, this is my purpose for being here, because I want to help, bring justice to these families, So that is what really grounded me. And I think in that situation was hearing his mother's pain, because at first I was just excited to be there. I'm like, oh my gosh, my first dead body, oh my gosh, like my first homicide, oh my gosh, like first time I'm seeing media, like, oh my God, like everything's like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. But then it's like when you see the mom and the family and their reaction to seeing their son or brother, cousin on the ground in front of them, like, that's when it really hits home for you, and you're like, okay, this is the reason why I'm called to do what I'm supposed to do. Like, this is the reason why I'm doing what I'm doing. This is the reason why I chose this profession. So it's really intense, but if you love what you do, you're going to do it, and you're going to go all out for it, and you're going to make the best of every situation. So that's what made me be like, I really hope that these prints come back to match something. Like, I did lift a couple fingerprints while I was there at the homicide, like from door handles. I also fingerprinted because he was dead on the stairs. It was like it was an apartment complex, and he was kind of on the stairs and kind of off the stairs. Like, he was near the bottom of the stairs, so some of his body was on the stairs and the rest was off. And so I had fingerprinted like around the stairs, fingerprinted like the doorknobs and stuff. That was like that whole building, like the doorknobs, that whole building. Because the whole building at that point was like, we didn't know exactly which apartment he came from, or if anybody that was in that building had anything to do with it or whatever. So we fingerprinted all the outside doorknobs to all of to the whole building, because it was a part of the crime scene. So and then I also helped collect different pieces of evidence as well. So it's like, that's in those moments you're just like, oh, I hope something helps. I hope something helps the situation. I hope something will come of this. And I'm not sure. I really don't know, because I didn't keep up. Like, it wasn't my case to keep up with. I was just there assisting. So I didn't like have to go to court on it or anything. but the detective and the analyst, if they had to go to court, like if no one pleaded guilty, then they would have had to go to court for it. So I don't know about, you know, the whole court process in regards to that case. But yeah, it was really intense, and it was definitely a learning experience. So the things I learned from my first homicide, like I said earlier, you have to know how to focus on what someone is telling you, and, you know, face to face, like if it's a detective or if it's an officer or if it's someone that you're there assisting, you have to be able to focus on the things that they're saying so that you can take in all the information, everything that you need to process the scene, everything that you need to know. Anything that's going on that's crucial, like at the scene, they're going to be able to tell you that, and you need to be able to process everything, and even in the midst of chaos. So that was the number one lesson that I learned during that crime scene. Other things I learned at that crime scene is, you know, have a purpose, like know what you're going to do and make sure you get it done. Like know what you came there to do and get that done. And those are I think the two main things. Oh, and also, hey, I never wore a bulletproof vest while I was a crime scene investigator. But, you know, make sure that you are protected at all times. Make sure you keep yourself safe. And one way to keep yourself safe, some departments is mandatory for you as a crime scene investigator to wear a bulletproof vest. In my department, it was not mandatory. It was optional. If you had to go get sized for one if you were going to get it, but they would provide it for you. So the reason why I didn't wear a bulletproof vest is because it was in Texas, it's hot as I don't know what. And that was when I first moved to Texas too. Like that was the first year I was in Texas. So it was still in the summertime. And for me, it's like, if I am hot already in these heavy, you know, clothes, like this heavy police almost uniform, like we wore BDU clothes, basically. They were BDUs. So if you guys like are anybody in the military, if you know what BDUs feel like or how heavy they are, whatever, how hot they are, we wore navy blue BDUs. And yeah, so wearing that plus wearing boots, like the heavy boots, the heavy duty boots or whatever, wearing the long socks underneath of them, wearing a t-shirt under my regular work shirt, plus the long black, the vest. Like it was a lot. Like it was already hot as I don't know what, and I didn't want to add on even more heat by wearing a bulletproof vest. And then here's the thing. With the police department I work for, the second you wear a bulletproof vest, if you are issued a bulletproof vest, if you decide one day, okay, I'm just not going to wear it because it's so hot out, and then if you just happen to get shot that day or you get injured that day, and the injury could have been prevented if you didn't have on a bulletproof vest, then you are liable. And it can't be put onto, you know, your police department. Like you are now liable. So that's why I never wanted a bulletproof vest, because I'm like, no, because the day I decide I'm not going to wear it, and if something happens to me, then I personally just don't think it's fair. I just don't think it's fair. So that's the reason why I'm just like, no, I'm just not gonna get one, because if something happens to me, then they're just always gonna be liable. And that's how I felt, because workers' comp, I decided to do this job, but I'm doing this job for your department who needs this type of service provided. So I'm providing this service for your department. So if I get hurt on the job, then you guys are gonna pay for me being hurt. That's how I looked at it. So it's basically, it was about workers' comp. If you don't have on a vest and you're issued a vest and you get shot, then I don't believe you can get workers' compensation. I think that's the reason, basically. So yeah, so there's just different lessons that I learned on my first homicide, and it was just very interesting. Like I said, my adrenaline was rushing. I was excited. It was fun, and then it got real, and it was like, wow, it was really eye-opening. It was a very eye-opening experience in different ways. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoy my video. I hope that maybe in some type of way it may have been able to help someone, hopefully. So yeah, I do have more crime scene stories that I will tell you guys, and they'll be coming later. Like I said, excuse my voice, I'm just waking up. Excuse my hair, I'm just waking up. Like I just wanted to film this video for you guys. So yeah. Also, thank you so much for the support that I have received. I really, really appreciate all the support that I've received on the rest of my videos, guys, especially my crime scene investigator videos. I know that this is the content that you guys want. Like I said, I got it for you. I'm bringing it for you. And yeah, so I got more crime scene stories coming up soon. Just make sure you stay tuned. Make sure if you have not already subscribed to my channel, make sure you go ahead and subscribe. Hit the bell next to the subscribe button so that you stay updated whenever I post a new video. Share this video with your friends. If you're in school for crime scene investigation, share this with your friends, share this with your classmates. If you are in high school and you want to be a crime scene investigator, just do your research. Like, I know you guys send me a lot of questions and I don't get to answer every single one, but if you guys email me, I do respond to all emails. That doesn't mean a zillion people send me emails at once, but I have been responding to all the emails. Even if it takes me like a month to get back to you, I'm gonna get back to you if you email me for sure. But if you just comment on the video, I may not answer your comment. I may not respond to your comment if I've already answered it multiple times to other people. But yeah, so if you're in high school, just do research, look up what is the best what's the best major. I already told you guys. I'm gonna say it one more time. I may need to put this in every single video because I get asked this a lot as far as what is the best major to major in if you want to be a crime scene investigator. Okay, so number one, I would always suggest your first go-to major should be forensic science. If there's a forensic science at your school, or forensic biology, or forensic chemistry, or anything like that, forensics is the go-to major. If they don't offer forensic science, then I would suggest a physical science. If they do not have a physical, every school pretty much should have a physical science. Like, you should major in physical science. And also, or you could double major in physical science and criminal justice. If you don't want to major in physical science, major in criminal justice and minor in physical science. Either way, you need science experience because forensics is a science. So you need that science experience. Criminal justice is a good major, but like I said, criminal justice, you need to also do sciences with it. So if you're going to major in criminal justice, minor in physical science or forensics. If your school offers criminology, take that. That is basically the same thing. So yeah, there's a lot of different ways that you can do it, and it can be done. Just see what works best for you. There's not just one go-to answer for that. But yeah, so I hope this helps. And like I said, I got more videos coming for you guys, and I hope that you enjoyed this video. Stay tuned, guys. Thanks for watching. Bye.